I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews with Ingamar Ramirez, the contributor at Sovryn. Ingamar, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time to come on today.
Thanks a lot, Ashton. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into DeFi with Bitcoin, which I think is especially important for the industry right now, and not enough people know about it. I would love for you to kick off our discussion with just a high-level overview of Sovryn, some of the DeFi solutions that your team's bringing to the space.
Yeah, sure. So Sovryn, in a nutshell, is a DeFi project building on top of a Bitcoin sidechain that allows users to lend, borrow, trade, leverage on a protocol all in one place that serves as a financial layer on top of Bitcoin. So the platform is secured by Bitcoin, transactions are mined by Bitcoin proof-of-work miners, and gas is paid for in Bitcoin.
Very cool. And yeah, the DeFi space has been exploding with Ethereum and the decentralized exchanges. And it's not too often that I hear stuff with Bitcoin being on DeFi, but there is a lot of solutions like this that are coming up. And I think it's bringing a lot of utility and value to Bitcoin on top of just being a store of value. So can you talk a little bit about how that exactly works as a side chain, and you take your Bitcoin and move it into Sovryn, and then you can use it with the financial products?
Yeah. So yeah, to take a step back, Bitcoin is basically the number one untapped liquidity source for Bitcoin for DeFi, and in the spring, summer of last year, a lot of these new lending and liquidity pool and yield farming protocols emerged, and it was a crazy summer. And I fell in love with what you could do with permissionless, trading of cryptocurrency around the world without KYC, without any centralized middlemen. And I was all for it. I fell in love with it, and I was brought on to Sovryn, and fell in love with Bitcoin in the sense that it is the most secure chain, it is the most decentralized digital reserve asset in the world. So I just wanted to bridge these two things together and support any project that did that. So the premise of Sovryn really is to compete with centralized finance that demands that you give up your custody, you give up your power over your digital property rights in order to use your Bitcoin. And so the solution is to just build ways to do it without all of that trust and without all of that all those attack vectors on your own money.
Totally. And I know what you mean, where you see some of these centralized finance lending protocols, they have yields for Ethereum, for stable coins, and for Bitcoin. And then when you look at the decentralized ones, it's not really catered around Bitcoin too much, or at least you don't hear it. But as you mentioned, it really is the untapped liquidity source. The most value out of any cryptocurrency is all locked in Bitcoin. And those people could be utilizing that value to lend, to earn interest in other ways where they don't have to give up the fundamental principle of Bitcoin, which is their private keys for Bitcoin.
Right, exactly. So we're the Sovryn team. We're not Bitcoin maximalists. We're not willingly ignorant of the innovation that goes on in other ecosystems. We admire it for sure. I personally view the Ethereum community as like a mad science laboratory where there's explosions, there's broken beakers, but there's also unicorns, and there's also like things we've never seen before emerge. And I think the Bitcoin community would do well to observe these innovations and adopt them, adopt the best into Bitcoin, and leave out the rest.
Definitely. And I'd love to get sort of a snapshot of where Sovryn's at right now. Is there already Bitcoin in the system, tapping into those liquidity sources? How long ago did you start it, and where's it at?
Yeah. It's about a year old, actually. And we went fully live around April, with no limits to, the liquidity you can put in. We do audits regularly. So we wanted to like ease our way into opening up to all users. And just yesterday, we reached $100 million worth of value locked in the lending, the AMMs, and the staking contracts. So it's a big milestone for us. You know, we
Congratulations.
Thanks. So we don't really like, we can't leverage the Ethereum community. We can't leverage the Polygon, the BSC. You know, we're building entirely on the Rootstock chain, and that's on the come up basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're happy to push that ecosystem forward, and yeah, it's a huge milestone for us.
Definitely, no, that's huge. Congrats on that, Ingamar. And you know, I wanna break this down for people who aren't really in DeFi, but they hold Bitcoin. You know, usually you're holding Bitcoin and Ethereum or some of the major coins, and they're like, how can I bring more utility and capitalize on the Bitcoin that I'm holding? So I'm curious, with this sidechain, do you move your Bitcoin somewhere and then you still have the private keys, or is it wrapped into something? Right. How does that work for the Bitcoin users?
Yeah, so the way the Rootstock sidechain works is you send your Bitcoin into a federated peg, and it's secured by hardware secured modules in an 8 of 15 multisig, held by multiple institutions. And there's no way for the Bitcoin to actually be taken away. The HSMs basically sign the transactions from the Bitcoin chain to the RSK chain. I'm not the most technical person, but that's more or less in a nutshell how it works. It's a lot more decentralized and secure than something like wrapped Bitcoin, which is regulated and could be shut down at any point.
Totally.
So I guess the user flow would be, you know, hop into Sovryn, you click your MetaMask, you connect your MetaMask. You can have it automatically switch to the RSK chain in just one click, and then you would go to Fast BTC, which is like a quick bridge. Generate the QR code, send your Bitcoin to the QR code, then it shows up in your MetaMask wallet as RBTC or BTC on the RSK chain. Okay. And then starting, right there you can trade against Ether or stablecoins, BNB, and various tokens that we have listed in the exchange.
Very cool. And yeah, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Rootstock, but I did speak to Diego way back about Rootstock, and from what I understand, it's bringing smart contracts and decentralization to Bitcoin. They're sort of the leaders in that space. So that sounds like it allows you to put your Bitcoin into MetaMask, which you normally wouldn't be able to do, and sort of bring it into that. You know, with DeFi, most of the applications just connect to your MetaMask easily, right? And that's why Bitcoin's had a hard time getting in there. So with the Rootstock in MetaMask, that makes sense that you'd be able to easily tap into the ecosystem, right?
Yeah. You know, Sovryn is we view Sovryn as like long-term a multi-chain project. But the great thing about Rootstock is that it has two main things that we really want. The security of Bitcoin, it's secured by Bitcoin proof of work miners, and it is compatible with the Ethereum virtual machine. So basically anything on Ethereum, we can port over quite easily to the Rootstock chain. And it makes it easier for the users as well and developers.
Definitely. And now inside of the actual dApp, with the different financial products that are available on Sovryn for Bitcoin, do you have all of the sort of fundamental DeFi products where it's lending, staking, interest, farming, pools, things like that? Is that all available?
Yeah. You know, so you can swap like it's Uniswap. You can borrow like it's Compound. You can earn interest like it's Aave. You can leverage like it's, you know, Fulcrum, DZX. We're trying to provide like a Mac OS experience where it's not just a word processor, it's not just a calculator, it's not just a browser. Yeah. It's an all-in-one place.
Totally. Yeah. And I was looking at the platform as well, and I know that, you know, besides wrapping your Bitcoin, there's also a Sovryn network token as well. And I'm curious if you could touch on the SOV token, how that is incorporated into the DeFi platform, and, you know, what's the main functionalities of it?
Yeah, sure. So the SOV token is designed to be a governance token a way to make decisions collectively on upgrades to the system, new features, new products, decisions that move the community forward. And I think the really innovative thing about it is that you can't just borrow a bunch of SOV, override a proposal, and then give back the SOV and pay essentially nothing for it. In order to accrue voting power, you have to stake your SOV token into the system. You decide how long you want to do it. The longer you stake, the more governing power that you have. It actually gets multiplied depending on how long, up to 3 years, you stake it. So I think it's a great way of incentivizing long-term thinking from the Sovryn community. And with that, it's not just voting power. You do accrue more fees that are generated by the system, as well as staking rewards.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a great incentive for long-term growth. And we are so early on, especially with Bitcoin DeFi, that 3 years comes really quickly.
Yeah, totally. It's still an emerging space. I love all of these attempts at bringing DeFi for Bitcoin, whether it's on a side chain, whether it's on a different chain altogether. Even if it's on Ethereum, it's becoming a real emerging part of the discussion. And I think we're still early.
Definitely. And speaking of 3 years down the road, and having token holders contribute to the future, you mentioned that part of the vision was to be multi-chain and to interact with all of DeFi. And I'm guessing there's also more financial products and updates coming out on the roadmap as Sovryn continues to grow. Maybe you can talk about the future plans and the future vision for Sovryn.
Yeah, I think very long term, I could very well see mortgages, real world, legal contracts being executed using the Sovryn protocol. That's pretty far down, but in the short term, we are working on a permissionless Bitcoin-backed stablecoin. We're working on a launch pad called Origins, which allows new communities to fundraise and self-generate using the same system that we did to launch our own community, to launch our own governance and our token. So you see these ecosystems, Polkadot, Solana with their own launch pads. We're trying to make a decentralized one for the Bitcoin builders out there. We also want to integrate our stable coins with a lot of the mainstream traditional financial applications. We're not trying to stick to our own little silo. We want to bring our platform to as many users as possible.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great. Well, if you're trying to bring it to as many people as possible, and all this stuff is live already that we've spoken about, what's the best way for the viewers to start using the platform, but also get involved in the community and follow along with the updates for Sovryn?
Yeah, great. So live.sovryn.app. Sovryn is spelled Sovryn. That's if you want to just get to using the platform right away. If you want to see what the discussions are, you can follow our Discord. There's forum.sovryn.app if you want to see what types of threads we're discussing. And Twitter is also a great way to get daily updates. Twitter.com/SovrynBTC.
Great. Thank you so much, Ingamar, for taking the time to talk about decentralized Bitcoin DeFi. I think it's a super important initiative that your team is working on. I'm excited for future updates for Sovryn. I will leave all those links in the description box below for the viewers to get involved and try it out. And let's follow up in the near future.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.